welcome back. We are finally live again, and today we're going to be designing an unbelievably awesome SaaS landing page. So, I'm super duper excited personally for this UI build, especially because we're going to be covering a lot of really awesome elements. We're going to be taking a look at SaaS applications, their basic nature, and also how to design perfect landing pages for these extremely modern use cases where you now have something that you're selling to people, something that requires a subscription, something that requires its own costing. So I feel like the effort from UI design side, from the side of convincing the user, and also the user experience in terms of how they're getting introduced to your platform, the first user experience has to just be incredible. The first page and we discussed this yesterday as well, the first page in any complete website is the landing page, and this is exactly where the people land, where the people get started. So I feel like user experience and user interface are both things that we need to sort of take a look at very specifically. We're going to be talking about a bunch of really cool techniques that are very specific, in my experience, to landing pages and to premium sort of landing pages, which are sort of common when you're talking about a SaaS application. So this is going to be a completely awesome stream. We're going to be taking a look at all of these different concepts that I am so happy to tell you. I'm sure you can see from my screen right now what we're going to be building. Let's just get started. So this is a complete demo of what we're going to be building today. Let's just open this up. This is what we're designing today. It is a landing page for a SaaS application. So one of the cool things with this UI right now is it has all of these double-sided partitions, and we sort of agree with that theme. So this is the UI that we're building essentially. When you start to scroll, this is really weird and alternate, and this is really taking elements from both worlds and just getting them together on one single page. I love the way it has turned out. Super duper professional, super duper awesome looking. It just looks so pretty to the eyes, and this is UI design and UX design at its top level. And the reason why I'm saying that is because one of the established goals with SaaS applications and landing pages is you have to make them as pretty as possible, and we've just done that in this UI. So I am super duper excited about this entire UI, and I feel like this was the one we had to do because we're going to be taking a look at navigation bars, which are rounded off alternates, dividing a first hero section of a landing page into two parts and still pulling it off, nailing things where you're taking two different journeys and sort of getting them together, having these different cards that are so well built that you could just ship off this screen as the hero page and I would still buy the product, and then you have a completed gallery of these cards themselves. This button arrow call to action is a very modern UI trend that we've been seeing in the last couple of months, and I feel like this is the sort of thing that goes to awards websites, and this is the sort of advanced level UI that you want to have the backing of when you're doing your own SaaS application, when you're doing a landing page. Whether you are a business owner, whether you are a freelancer, whether you are a UI UX designer, I feel like you can't really go wrong with this level of detail, this level of awesome UI. Just really quickly, we are going to be learning so many different concepts here. The fonts that we're using, the things that we're using are just so incredible, and I feel like we just have to jump into this now. So before we get started, make sure to introduce yourself, say hi in the chat, let me know where you're from. Let's get started. So the very first thing obviously that we need to take care of right now is we have to get started with this project. The way we're going to do that is obviously in Figma. So I'm going to make this smaller now. If you don't yet have Figma installed and you are a UI UX designer, you're just going to go over here and now we're going to open up Figma. So you're just going to go to figma.com/downloads if you don't yet have Figma installed. And so now we're looking at figma.com/downloads. Very simple stuff. Say hi in the chat, everyone. Welcome back. Say hi in the chat. Let me know where you're from. Let's get started. Alright, so you can download your desktop app for either macOS or Windows, whatever you're on. And once you have this installed, this is the point where we're going to get started with actual Figma. So when you open up Figma, you're going to be greeted with a screen that looks sort of like this, and this is a very pretty simple UI. So you're just going to go to the Recents tab on the side, and click on a new design file, and this is going to create a new design file for you. So we'll just wait for this new design file to get created, and then we can get started. Before I say anything else, I feel like I need to get my own bit of self-promotion in here. The images that we're using for the entirety of this UI, every single one of these images is owned by me, first of all, and then you have the complete license to use them both for personal and commercial uses, whether you're using it in your portfolio, whether you're making something out of it. All of these images can be found completely for free inside the Discord group, which you can find in the description of this video. Hold on, let me just get this video opened up, and let's just get the description of this video. So when you look at the description of this video, you're going to find a link to our Discord group. Give me a moment. You can find all of the assets right here in the Discord group, and every single image that we're using, every single different element that we're using is inside of here. So let's just get our hands on all of these images and we can get started. If you're new here, welcome. We create new UI designs every single day at 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time or 2:30 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. Just open up Discord from the description of this video. You will find every single image that we're using for this UI. Super duper fun, and you don't have to worry about getting your own images. It's just the simplest thing ever. Just go to the 100 days of UI assets, which reminds me, we are on day 38 of the 100 days of UI design challenge. Welcome back. So you're just going to go ahead and click on this Google Drive link, and you'll find all of the images that we're using for the entirety of this UI. Very, very simple stuff, very, very easy stuff. The first thing that you need to do is obviously download your images. So the first image is obviously the image of this girl. We're just going to go right here and get this image downloaded now. Let's get this image downloaded, and while this is happening, in the background, we're going to get started with our Figma file. Very, very simple stuff. The first thing we need obviously is a frame. So this is the first frame where everything is going to be located. And I feel like this is a good point to mention the fact that Figma provides these skins of very specific devices for your final presentation to either the client or the shareholders or whoever it is that you need to present the completed UI to. Figma provides these skins only if you stick to a specific screen size. And how you're going to get this specific screen size is you're going to go down here in your new file to the frames, click on frame, create a new frame, and now the size for this, it can be any of these presets. And if you select one of these presets, now Figma is going to provide to you, when you prototype this, a complete MacBook Air or tablet, whichever size you want, skin outside of the screen itself, and it provides you a couple of options as well. This is also very interesting. You can choose the model and option of the entire screen, which makes really, really easy for people at the end to understand what your UI is, how it scrolls, what it tangibly feels like. So this is a really, really great part about the experience. And once you have that figured out, the next thing you're going to do is obviously get started with that navigation bar. This is our very, very first part. Let's just get started. So the way you're going to do that is you're going to go to the navigation, go down here, click on a frame, and now you're going to create a new frame. So just drag this guy out entirely. And now we're going to create a new frame. We're just going to go right here, add a fill, and make sure the fill is a color different from white, because white on white is not possible to see at all. And now we're going to go ahead and get the color palette that we're using. So the color palette that we're using for this UI is, let's get the color for this. The color that we're using here is a really, really nice shade of teal, 5C D6CD. And if you want to copy this, you can just go ahead and type over here 5, hold on, what was it? 5CD6CD. 56, oops, I feel like we messed up. 5CD6CD. And this is now the color that we're using. So these are the colors from our color palettes. Just round off this navigation bar entirely, and it'll just give you this really, really nice effect. So with that, we now have a navigation bar with us. If you've come along this far, congratulations. Now that we have this navigation bar with us ready, it is at this point we're going to start breaking down our actual navbar itself. So this bar is built in 3 different sections. We have links on the left side, logo in the center, and then we also have links on the right side. This is just going to be built in 3 different parts. The way we're going to build this out is we're just going to get started with one of these sides. Let's start with the left side. We're going to go right here, click on a text box, and we're going to start by creating a new text box. So home, projects and teams are the 3 different links that we're using. Let's type out home, and we're going to change the font to outfit. We're going to increase the size now a little bit to 16, change the color to white, and you can also make this thicker. Let's just switch it up to a medium, and we now have our first link. We're going to press Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and this is going to copy and paste for us. Don't make sure not to copy and paste the fill, by the way. Make sure to select this and not this. And when you have this text box selected, now you can copy and paste this link in itself. And now you can just change this to say projects and teams. Let's change this to say projects, and now we're going to copy this once again, and we're going to paste it right here, and we're going to have it say teams. With that, we have the 3 of these ready. So we're just going to select all of these together, and we're going to make sure to press shift while we're selecting multiple things in Figma at once. And now we're going to press Ctrl G. This gives us this really nice left aligned group of links. If you're worried about the spacing between each individual element, just go over here, add an auto layout, and this is now going to create for us this really nice looking auto layout, which is making sure everything is equally spaced apart. Now this is really important when you're creating your own UIs, when you're creating a new logo, when you're creating a new navigation bar, because spacing is so important in making sure things look good. And now we're just going to make sure this exact thing is also happening on the right side. So we're just going to select this, copy and paste it once again, and we're going to take it over to the right side, place it right here, make sure everything is perfectly aligned on the right edge. So the auto layout also needs to be adjusted accordingly. We're going to select each individual one of these, and we're going to make sure it is right aligned. This is really important, just to make sure everything looks good, spacing is equal on both the right and left. And I feel like these are the concepts you always need to grab onto, because even when you're designing something advanced like a landing page for a SaaS application, basic principles in UI design will always stay the same. The basic principle of always making sure everything is perfectly aligned, right and left, spacing over here and here is equal. These are just basic principles that will always remain the same. So I hope that's clear now. So we'll just type out these links now: about, graphic design area, and we're going to type out contact. So let's just really quickly type these out. So we're just going to type about. This is our social media handle, graphics area, and we're going to also type out contact. So just really quickly say hi in the chat, everyone. We just forgot to introduce ourselves all together. Today we're designing a really cool landing page SaaS application. Let's just select the both of these by pressing shift, and now you can add an auto layout, which makes sure they're both having an equal amount of alignment from the top and bottom. And also now you can move them together as a group. Now you're going to place this completely in the center, and this is going to make sure that you have equal spacing on the left and the right side. And once that is done, congratulations, you are 90% done with the entirety of this title bar. And now we're going to type out the logo and the name of the brand. Now here's a quick challenge for everyone watching. If you suggest a good name, any creative name, we'll type that out as the name of this UI. So just think of something. And while we're doing that, I'm going to get a logo for us. So the way I'm going to get the logo is very simple. Iconify is a really simple Figma plugin to get all sorts of different logos. Shailendra says hello Shailendra, welcome. Master Game says hey, hello, welcome. And now we're going to go right here to the bottom, and we're going to search for Iconify. This is like the best thing ever if you're searching for icons, logos, anything at all. And I feel like during these UI design streams, we don't always have the time to create our own logos, which is completely fine. You can just get one from Iconify. The logo that we're using here is a little bit of a mystery logo, so we'll just search for anything related to mystery, and I feel like you can find a lot of really cool things. Let's search for book, and I hope something fun comes up. Let's get searching, and I feel like you can have really many great options when it comes to things like these, but let's just get ourselves some time. This was the one that I was using previously. I'm just going to import this as a frame. Really simple stuff. We're going to make sure the size is small enough to fit, and we're going to make sure it's big enough to see as well. So I feel like hitting the sweet spot is very important here. the color is obviously going to change to white, and now we're also going to add a name. So the name I'm using is actually pretty simple here today, and it doesn't even matter what the name says. Creative Designs is the name. Let's just place this right here, and we're going to make sure the font size is a little bit bigger. The reason for that is now you have this logo which is in the center of everything, and it needs to be big, it needs to be bolder, and it needs to be brighter. So the font weight is set to bold for this. You know what, let's just go to semi bold. We're going to make sure everything is bold, everything is very, very present, just so it's physically visible and massive. You're going to make sure to press shift, select the both of these, Control G to group them together. You can add an auto layout, and that's just going to make sure everything is perfectly aligned in the center. Just make sure to click this button and things will be aligned perfectly in the center. And once we've done that, we're going to make sure everything is aligned in the center using this button. This is such a magical group of buttons, like you can absolutely align everything as long as it is in the same frame. If you're not happy with the spacing like me, you can just adjust it using this auto layout, and then make sure the width is set to hug contents, and boom, with hug contents you can just adjust your layout according to the spacing. And now we'll just make sure it's aligned in the center. Let's just make sure everything is perfectly aligned. So we're just going to shift it above according to our frame. Where are you guys from? I do want to know, where is everyone from? If you could type it out really quickly in the comments while we're building this out. I'm from India, which is awesome, but we also have a couple of people from different time zones, so I feel like it'd be cool to know where everyone's from. While that is happening, I also want to talk about this next section that we're building out. So this first section is the hero section, and it is the most important section of this entire UI. Reason being, now you have this section which is the first thing that a user comes across, and with that comes the massive responsibility of making sure that the first time the user bumps into this, they're really happy with the way things look. If you design something irritating over here, people are going to run away. That's just a fact. Like it might sound rude, it might make me sound harsh, but if you mess this up, everything else is messed up. It doesn't matter if the best thing happens at the bottom. If you mess this up, everything is just going to go to complete shit. I don't want that for myself or you. So today we're going to talk about how to make sure everything looks balanced and well laid out. So a couple of things are really important here. You want to make sure, number one, there is a lot of spacing inside of the hero section. There is a lot of empty space, just so people have a little bit of breathing room, because you're already introducing a new product and that can be heavy on users visually. Number two, you always want to make sure if you have any images, they're very separate, or at least visually drastically differentiable, very visible right here. And also you want to make sure the text in terms of the heading, subheading, button, everything is just really put on one side, and you have this image on one side. This just balances things out well. So we're just going to divide our screen into two very equal parts, and we're going to build out the hero section in itself. Let's take a look at the comments. Master Game says Bangalore. Sherin says Delhi. How incredible is that? Sherin says, I have a quick question. How do you choose colors, like colors or color combinations? I feel like beyond a point, it becomes really easy to just select any color and design other colors around that. But if you're not really getting comfortable with that, there are some really great color options available in terms of choosing your first color palette. So you can choose color palettes online. I'll select a color, and this is really interesting. If you guys want to hear my complete take on how to design around any color, just type C in the chat, and if I see enough C's, we'll take a moment in here to talk about how I create a color palette literally around any shade of the entire color wheel. This is a really interesting point, by the way. Just if you could type C in the chat. Alright, and while that is happening, we're going to make sure we design this section first. And here's just one last thing that I wanted to add. You always want to make sure with your hero section, there is a little bit of overflow happening over here. So overflow from the bottom section has to happen to the top, and the reason for this is very simple. If there is stuff present here, people from the older generations, people who are not very comfortable with the internet, are still going to be aware that there is something at the bottom, and there is a higher chance of them scrolling. Sometimes when hero sections are designed too well and there is no breathing room, there is no overflow happening here, people don't even know they have to scroll, and that is just such a bummer in my experience. But people will not know that you have to scroll if there isn't a lot of overflow happening. So this is also something to keep in mind. The next thing we're going to do is obviously create a very, very simple frame. So this frame is going to be just a little bit smaller. We're going to go up to 800, but this frame size is 832, so I just don't want to make it occupy the complete amount of space. I'll just stick to 800, and we're going to add a fill. So this is a very, very simple white fill. Let's change the color to black, not because we want black to be there, but because we need to be able to see what's going on here. So just plain and simple, we'll change it to black, make sure the frame is big enough to accommodate us. And now it's really, really important from a visual strategy point of view. You want to make sure there is an equal amount of spacing on this side and on this side. So we're just going to go right here, create a different frame, make sure firstly height is 800, completely equal. And now if you're not entirely sure, 1280 is the width that we're using. If for some reason you're working with a number that's a little bit different, make sure to divide this by 2. Just take your time, use a calculator, divide it by 2, and you can always add a different fill here. Now that we have a fill going on with us, firstly I want to go ahead, right click and send it to the back, and the next thing I need to do is add an image over here. So the image that we're using is from our Discord group. Just go over here. This link for this Discord group is available in this video's description. So you're just going to get your link from the Discord group, go ahead and open this up, and now we're going to get our very first image. So this is the image that we're using, and we're going to download this. I think we already downloaded it, so that's just on me, you guys. We're just going to go right here, and now we're going to add our image. Very, very simple stuff. Firstly, go to the fill. Now change this fill format from color to image. Just go to the third option, get yourselves an image, and now we're going to upload this from our computer. So now we're just going to go right here, add this image that we were using, go to the downloads. This is the first image we've downloaded. We'll just open it up, and now you have this really, really simple UI with this image on the side as well, and this image is taking an equal amount of space, which is a great thing visually. The next thing we need to make sure of is this needs to be holding a couple of elements. Let's just change this color back to white now that we have a visual representation of where this is ending. And now we're going to design all of the different text elements. So the text elements are using a very, very special font today, which we have never ever used before. The font that we're using today is called LC. So we're just going to type out crafting visual stories, which is our tagline. Very, very simple stuff. Oops, I really can't type on stream, you guys. I'm going to change this to say LC. We'll just type out ELSI. A really cool alternative to LC is LC swash caps. So we're just going to go over here, and you can basically experiment between LC, which sort of looks like this and has very, very defined serifs, and also LC swash caps, which has rounded corners instead of serifs. So I feel like I messed up somehow. This is LC swash caps. The serifs here are more rounded and fun. This is LC. The serifs are more edgy and defined. So I feel like you can just choose whatever you want from both of these. LC and LC swash are recent font additions in Figma and just pair really well with basic sans serif fonts like Outfit and any of those other alternatives. Why do I have a feeling this is light in opacity? Like you could do a light version in opacity, and let's just make this thicker. Art by Kamal says hello from Pakistan. Welcome, Kamal. We're just going to make sure this is a smaller font size. So we're just going to go right here, make sure the font size we're using is a little bit smaller. You know what, you can just change the size physically to do 84, and I feel like that's a good stopping point. Firstly make sure your text is left aligned. Never mess up alignment. That's just the biggest mistake you can make. And we're going to make sure the font size is also a little bit smaller. Let's go ahead with 64. If you want to make sure your width and height is automatically changing according to your internal contents, go ahead and click on this button, and this is going to make sure you have auto width. This button, on the other hand, makes sure you have auto height. So these are both just very, very valid options you can use. I feel like I'm just going to go ahead with this one, and we're going to change the size to 72. And this is our first title of the day. and also we have a number on this font size that we're using, which is 72. The next thing we need to make sure is the spacing, and this is just very, very specific stuff, but I feel like when you're going to niche down to the degree where you're saying now we're creating very, very specific, very, very professional landing pages for SaaS applications, for applications which are complicated in themselves and need an explanation, I feel like this is the point where you're going to needle down to the most basic pixel perfect details and perfect your strategies. So the first thing you need to do is make sure the spacing in here is a little bit wider, and the reason we're doing that is as we progress with this design, you'll start to realize that there is a lot of spacing at the top and bottom, and you don't want a UI where on the one hand things are just really squished together, and on the other, just around that text box, things are very, very relaxed. So you don't want that. You want there to be balance at the end of the day. So you're going to make sure that there is a little bit of spacing in here. So we're just going to go over here, increase the spacing between the lines. Don't worry if it doesn't look perfect at first. 128.6 is the number we're using here, which doesn't seem like a problem to me at all. You can just work with this number until you reach a point where you're happy with things. And now we're going to add our description. So this description is going to be your vision brought to life through design. So it is going to go right here, type out your vision brought to life through design. Very, very simple stuff. I find out in my personal experience that the best fonts that work with LC or LC swash caps are Outfit and Honest, which are both very sans serif wide fonts, and they just work so well, and I feel like we have to acknowledge that at some point. Yes, LC and LC swash caps are two different fonts that were recently introduced in Figma. They weren't here until a very recent time, and they're very new and they're very fresh and modern, and I feel like this is why they're going to work really, really well in 2025, just on account of how hot and underused they are, despite their very, very clear, beautiful font kerning as a typeface. So I feel like this is really going to take off. We're going to make sure our font width is adjusted in here, so we're going to bring it down to regular. We're going to change the size to, let's do 22. I don't know if that is the right size yet. 22 looks good. And before we do anything else, I do want to take a moment here to acknowledge the fact that one of our most basic colors in here is this light shade of teal or turquoise, and the thing to remember here is it is a very light, smooth, easy, neutral shade. And when you're working with these very light and easy shades, don't ever use pure black for every single description and every single huge chunk of text. If you do so, you will end up being very, very striking in terms of contrast. And when you have a color palette that's really, really light and really, really easy to look at, you don't want to create a lot of strife, you don't want to create a lot of headache. You just want to make sure this is a really lighter shade of black, and these description texts are almost always gray. So when you're using a light color scheme, easy color scheme, you want your description texts to be gray and you want your titles to be lighter shades of black. And this is such a universal rule, always is the case, or at least is the case when you're looking for great UI designs. So we're going to change this to be light gray. Obviously doesn't matter which shade as long as it's gray. And now you can also change this from, instead of a pure black, to a lighter shade of black. And sometimes people get confused. What shade of black should you use when you're changing the color, when you're not happy with pure black? You could go in any direction, but it won't always look good. So we're going to solve this issue as well. Sometimes people are advised to only use not use pure black, but people get confused in terms of what lighter shade of black to use. And in these situations, the simplest thing to do is you're going to draw from whatever is around you. So right now this turquoise is the color around you, and you're just going to select this shade, and you're going to go towards black, but not purely to entirely to 000 black. You're going to go over here and you're going to get these colors where black and this light shade of turquoise mix. So I feel like this is the perfect stopping point, and this is a great color that we have now. It is 00211F, and this is now our color scheme sort of brought to life. And this is just the way we're working with color schemes. All right, going to select this and obviously make sure this and this are perfectly aligned. If they aren't, you can add an auto layout, but before we do that, we need to create our main call to action button as well. So we're just going to go right here, copy and paste this text, and now we're going to change this text to say view my work. The one thing to notice here is your font size has to be smaller, so it's that's just a prerequisite, because you want to make sure every single font size is different and everything has its own time and place to shine. So we're just going to make sure this is just a teeny tiny bit bigger. We're going to bring this up to 24, and now I'm going to talk about my simplest, most easiest technique in creating buttons. So this is a text box, and now I'm going to talk about the easiest hack to creating buttons on the fly. Just go right here, right click, frame selection, add an auto layout, spacing on the left and right, spacing at the top and bottom, and then boom, change the background color. So the background color for this is going to be turquoise, darkened up a little bit. And also, now that you have this really dark contrast of a color, you're going to change this font color to now be white, and now we have this really nice looking button. Sometimes, to make things cuter, to make things easier on the eyes, especially if you're using a font like LC, you're going to change this to be a little bit more rounded, but that's just stuff you can opt out of if you want to as well. I feel like this color could be a little bit better right now, so you can take your time to experiment around with what color looks good. I feel like this is a really nice shade, 007D74, I think, yes. And I feel like these are just really great color combos that you can use. Before we go to any other section, I want to take a moment to acknowledge our wonderful color scheme that we're using. So the colors that we're using today, aside from plain white, are 00211F, 007D74 and 5CD6CD. Along with any shade of grey, you can go with 656565 if you're looking for my specific shade. And now that we have this figured out, now we're going to start building out our second section. So this is the second section that we're building. One of the reasons this is really cute, really cool, interesting, and the reason I wanted to introduce this in a landing page stream for a SaaS application is, and it is really important to recognize how niche down, how rare landing pages for SaaS applications are executed to perfection, how rarely, and how this is what's going to differentiate you in the freelance market, in the market where you're searching for your job. This is what's going to make you a better freelance designer than what's next, a better UI designer than the crowds that are currently exploding literally in the world. So we're just going to create this very simple frame, and this is going to be our next section. We're going to make sure it is a little bit smaller than the complete height of the screen, which is actually 832. 625 is a good number to stop at. You're going to make sure the width is completely taking up the entirety of the screen, and ladies and gentlemen, the fill is going to be the light shade of green that we were using. So this doesn't have to be any color that's out of the world per se. We're going to get for ourselves this new image, which can be found in the Discord group. Go right here to the Discord group and you can find two different images, one of which will be wide and one of the which will be square in shape. So we're just going to get this from our Discord group. The great thing with the Discord group and all of the assets here are it is completely free. You can use them in your portfolio as well, and also the sizing and everything is very well adjusted. So we're going to go right here to the bottom, add an image, and we're going to get our image which we've just downloaded. We're going to place this right here, and also we're going to add a border radius just so everything looks nice and centered. If you find that you have very edgy borders, you can either increase the size of the frame like I'm doing right now, or you can also decrease the size of the image. But I would not recommend decreasing the size of the image because we've just styled it perfectly to fit your needs. And now we're going to add a border radius, just very simple stuff. 600 pixels is the height that we're working with. And now we're going to add a title. So explore my design journey and projects is our very simple title. We're going to go right here and type out explore my design journey and projects. Let's just really simply change the font back to ... Guess what font we're changing this back to? Come on, you guys. I know a lot of you are watching. I know you can do this. Guess which font we're using once again. We're going to increase the size again to, let's do 64. You know what? We can go up to 72. The font that we're using absolutely is LC. LC Swash Caps and LC are two recent additions to Figma, two fonts that I think are really going to take over the UI UX design scene for 2025, and these are just things to look out for, and I feel like we're doing a really great job at introducing them. So if you haven't yet seen it, we had a UI design that was very heavily relying on LC Swash Caps yesterday, and today we're talking about LC. And now that we have this title ready with us, you can use this ampersand or you can type it out. We're going to add description. Discover how I transformed ideas into stunning visuals. We're going to go to the back, obviously, and I'm going to copy this text. If you have the time, type it out. Very, very simple stuff once again. We're just going to go right here. And we're going to select this now, copy it, go back and paste it. So we're just going to, oops, don't worry if you don't yet have it completely done. We're going to go right here and you know what, let's just duplicate this out. We're going to duplicate it out, right click and paste here with the same style. You know what, I want to get my text and I want to paste it using my same style, and then we'll style it together. So we're going to reduce the font size firstly back to 24, change the font family to outfit. Oops, don't search for poutfit, search for outfit. Don't be an idiot like me. Outfit. And we're going to make sure this is obviously thinner. Let's bring this down to a medium. You can also bring this down to a regular. It doesn't matter at this point. In fact, I might just bring it down to regular just because things are looking prettier this way. We're going to make sure everything is perfectly aligned in the center. And if for some reason you find out that this isn't standing up on the weirdly colorful background, make sure to add a effect of a drop shadow just so that everything stands out in the in front of you. If you aren't really sure on how to change these values, just go to this button right here, experiment with these numbers a little bit. You will find that it is super duper fun. And now we're going to get our button for us once again. We're going to go right here, copy and paste this button out here now, and we're going to make sure it's perfectly aligned in the center. So we're just going to click on this button, and that's going to make sure everything is perfectly aligned in the center. Let's select the both of these, shift them above by a couple of pixels. Obviously, very, very simple stuff, by the way, you guys. Make sure to press shift. Let's just select all of these at once, and also their spacing has to be equal now. And you can offset this spacing between the title and description by a couple of pixels. Let's just group them together as one single group. And now we are obviously changing the color of this button here as well. So we can just bring this down to the really, really dark shade of almost black that we were using. And since this text needs to be highlighted, we are going to change this thickness to medium. And we're going to change it to say read article, which is the simplest thing, the first thing that you need to do. Read article, you guys. And the next part that we're building out is my favorite part of all, because we're building out these really, really modern cards and we're creating a whole entire gallery out of them, and then we have a couple other sections to go. So the first thing that we're building out is this card group. We're going to go over here, increase the size of the frame, but before we do that I need to drink water because I haven't for a really long time. That's horrible. Obviously, we're back. The next section that we're building out is our cards grid. Very, very fun as an element. Really, really awesome to build out. So we're just going to go right here with our frame. MacBook Air 1. We're going to increase the size. And I once again want to point out that we're using we're using a bunch of these different images, which you can all find completely for free, by the way. Who the hell does that? Completely for free in our Discord group. You will have access to them forever. You can use them for personal and commercial uses. You will never have a problem with me on that. You can find all of these completely for free, and also every other image that I use on this channel completely for free from the Discord group. Just make sure to join us there. Let's download a bunch of images. So you're just going to go right here, select all of these images, download them one by one. The basic drill. How many of you have never joined the Discord group before? How many of you haven't joined this Discord group? Just type I in the chat and we'll just hold a whole convincing session here to join. Just kidding. Just join the Discord group. You'll find access to all of these images for free. And now we're going to create a new frame. Make it bigger, because obviously we're going to be accommodating a bunch of different things now, all very modern. We're going to add a fill and obviously change this to black. You can choose black, or you can choose this really nice shade of navy green that we use. I feel both are really good options. My personal preference would be to go in the middle, and I feel like this would be very demanding of attention and really clean looking, which is apparently my personal style as well. Now we're going to get a title and a description. Very simple stuff. Go right here, select a title, select a description, copy and paste. Bring it down, obviously. Make sure everything is aligned in the left. Add an auto layout, and also make sure everything is perfectly aligned in the left. And now you can make sure this is set to auto width, and that's automatically going to make sure everything is aligned perfectly. This actually looks quite incredible, honestly, guys. And we're going to change our text to say mystical adventures and a glimpse into the creative world. Mystical adventures. If you guys have any questions related to UI UX design, leave them in the chat right now. And also we're going to change this text out. A glimpse into creative world. All of these images again are completely free, available in the Discord group, and just so awesome to build out. And now we're going to get all of these images that we're using. So we're going to select this. Make sure to leave a lot of spacing in terms of top and bottom and left and right, just so there's a lot of breathing room to work with. And now we're going to start getting one of our images. The shortcut to get images in Figma is Ctrl-Shift-K. So I'm going to type out Ctrl-Shift-K on my keyboard as a keyboard shortcut. And now I have access to all of these images. So just press Shift and select bunch of images, especially if you're on a Windows machine. And now we're going to type them out, put them out here individually. I've just gotten any one of these, doesn't matter which. You can make this a little bit more round. And we're going to place this right here. I feel like the biggest concern here is, do the both of these fit? They probably don't, which is why you need to make one of them smaller. Actually, both of them smaller. We're going to change this to 454. The thing to notice here is the width and height need to be locked so that everything is just perfectly scaling together. We're going to make them a little bit bigger. Let's go with 507, which is a great number to work with. And now we're going to make sure everything is perfectly aligned in the center. Copy and paste them twice again, and now we're going to press Shift and select a bunch of these, group them together because we want to have a certain grid where all of these images are arranged. We're going to add an auto layout, and that's just going to make sure the width and height and everything is just perfectly spaced apart. So we'll just create a very simple grid. Why am I unable to create a grid? I feel like I should be able to create a grid. And we're going to make sure we have a 2x2 grid. If your frame requires a little bit more space, you're just going to increase the frame size. You can always increase it further, so don't worry about it right now. You're going to go to your auto layout, and you're going to make sure that the spacing between each individual image is a lot and is easy to work with. I feel like this is just really important right now. We're going to make sure everything is really perfectly spaced apart. Align it in the center, and obviously spacing needs to be done well. We're going to align it perfectly, shift it down, and I still see a lot of space that we need to add at the bottom. So we're going to go ahead, select our frame, make a little bit of spacing accommodation for every single place. We're going to go to the top and check this out. This actually looks really nice. This looks so incredible. Now we're going to build out these components. So essentially each of these cards is built with 3 different components. Number 1, this pill of what category it belongs to. Number 2, main call to action button. And number 3, title of the project. So we're firstly going to build out the pill, which is sort of describing the field that we're in. So we're just going to go to the top, type out logo design. Just go up here. Don't worry if it isn't perfect. It just is right now. We're going to press caps lock, logo design. Make sure it isn't competing, this text box isn't competing, it is in the same auto layout where you have your image. Just place this right here, right click. This is the simplest way to create a pill, by the way. Add a text box, right click, frame selection, add spacing at the top and bottom, left and right. Just add a fill, change this to black or the shade of black that we were using, semi-black, blended with green, and we're going to make sure it is semi-transparent. 75% to 85% are just good numbers to work with on color schemes like these. Border radius is going to be completely rounded off, and also the thickness here is going to be very, very wide. So we're just going to select this, make it thicker. Let's change this to bold, select this right here, and we're going to do 22 pixels. With that, I feel like we're done with a really, really nice looking pill. You can reduce the size. Let's just bring this back to 18. And also we're going to change the sizing here as well. Let's do 18 and 30. So now we have this really, really pretty looking pill with us. You can work with it if you want to, or I feel like this size is also pretty good. Just make sure everything is aligned here. And now we're going to create our main call to action button. This is a very simple icon. You can just get it from Iconify or press the pen tool, create one for yourself. This is just very, very simple stuff. We're going to create a really, really nice looking icon, add a little bit of spacing in here. If it looks weird, just make sure everything is perfectly aligned in the center. We're going to change this to say white, obviously, and also we're going to make it completely rounded off in the background. So you're just going to create a very, very simple shape, which is going to be an ellipse in this case. Where the hell did my ellipse go? We're going to bring this right here and make sure it is out of our frame. Sometimes you can place things in frame, but if you want to pop them out of the settings of the auto layout in the traditional sense, click the ignore the auto layout button, and that's just going to solve your problems for you. Now we're going to get this circle, place it right here behind this image, and obviously we need to make sure that the both of these are grouped together, just so that now we're at a place where we can easily use them. Select it, place it back right here. Make sure height is similar to the height that we were working with in the beginning. We're going to place this right here, and we're going to get our logo in here, place it right here. You can make this smaller if you want to. You can change the color in here to the light shade of black that we were using, or reverse the colors for this one. Just bring them down to the shade of gray that we were working with. So we're going to go right here, change this to the shade of gray that we were working with. You can change the headers of these arrows as well from right here. You can change them to be joint, dashed, or whatever other you want the options to be. Now we're going to create finally the title. So the title is going to be what the name of this project is. We can just get a title for example from the top in here, or if it is logged in on auto layout, let's just create a new one that says web design. Nothing very complicated, web design. We're going to bring this out of our previous frame, bring it into the next one, change the font to guess what? Change the font to be LC, change the font size to be 48. I feel like this is a really, really good place to stop. We're going to bring this right here, and we're going to add add a drop shadow. This makes things very, very visible. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have this really, really nice looking sort of box with us. You can copy it. Let's just create a bunch of these components. I feel like this could be a really good reusable component. We're going to get our image. We're going to get you know what, let's just get this image out of our frame. I feel like the frame is being a little bit restrictive right now. We're going to get this image, make sure it pops out of our frame, and now we're going to start selecting all of these individual elements, the pill, the call to action button, the name, group them together along with the name of our image. So we're going to get this image, put it inside of our group. Where did my image go? Make sure it's inside of the group, and don't worry if the auto layout is looking a little bit weird right now. Where did my link go? I feel like we messed up somehow. We're going to go ahead, get rid of this frame because I feel like we need to get rid of the auto layout now. And we're going to select all of these at once. Ctrl+Shift+G is just going to ungroup them for you. So just select these links, Ctrl+Shift+G. And now we're going to select all of these individually. So we're going to create reusable components out of these. We're going to select this, and also finally we're going to select the web design one. We're going to group them together as one, and I'm going to get rid of these excessive ones for now. And now I'm going to create a very, very reusable component here. So we're going to go right here, add a reusable component. You know what, let's just click on this button, and this is going to create a new variable component for you, which you can find in the asset section of this Figma library. We're going to go right here to this file, and now we're going to get this component out of that library. Where did my reusable component go? We're going to get this group and we're going to place it right here, and now we're going to create individual variants for all of these for us to customize really, really easily. We're going to group them together. Make sure spacing is very, very equal. That is really important in galleries and grids like these. You don't want to mess up on the spacing part. So we're just going to go right here, select all of these at once, and spacing obviously needs to be very, very simple, very, very equal. And now we're going to change all of these images one by one. So you're going to change the fill from images that are present here to the images that you've downloaded completely for free from our Discord group, link in the live chat and description. Select this image right here, change it back from our Discord group. I've downloaded all of these images now. Let's get all of these at our service. And you know what, I think I want to change things up a little bit. Let's get our fourth image in here as well. I was thinking of swapping out a couple of images, but I feel like that'll just be overkill at this point. Let's get another image. We're going to upload it from our computer, get this image with us. Check it out. All of these are now incredible images. You could change the text or you could just leave them the way it is. The next section we're building out is this one, introduction of the actual designer itself. And also we're going to talk about the testimonial section in this video and the footer. So let's just build this section out next. We're going to go right here, create a new frame, and now we're going to get for ourselves this image. So we're going to go at the back, download this image, make sure everything is perfectly aligned, change this to be a lighter shade of gray, and this is sort of the color that we were working with. It was IF2424. And now that we have this box with us, we're going to start building out the actual description of the designer that is there. I feel like we downloaded this image already, and now that we have this image ready with us, we're going to start working on our next section. So we're going to go right here and start importing our image. Press Ctrl+Shift+K, and now you're going to go to the downloads, get for ourselves this image. We're going to place this right here, bring this image to the center, just make sure everything is perfectly aligned, And also we're going to get the 3 of these. So I feel like the 3 of these are a really perfectly reusable example of title, description and button. I'm just going to get them right here and make sure everything is perfectly aligned on the right side. Let's just bring this right here, and obviously we are going to make sure everything is perfectly aligned to the right. Just make sure this is the case for the descriptions and the titles. Let's make sure everything is perfectly aligned. The button is going to take the entirety of the width no matter which side it is aligned from, which is why I am not very worried about that. We're going to make sure the title and description swap out their positions. This is also really important to us as designers, keeping on experimenting with the traditional positioning of things. And now we're going to bring this down, make it a little bit thicker, bring it to semi-bold, change this to a lighter shade of green. I feel like I'm speed running through things at this point. And also change this to say white. Let's bring this right here. We're going to change this to the green that we were using previously. I feel like that was a better choice in terms of the greens that we're using in here. And we're also going to change our text now. So this text says celebrating creativity. So we're just going to get all of this text from here now, copy it, and obviously go back, paste it and match style. So we can obviously change this to be, you know what, this actually looks like a nice shade. I'm just going to work with it, align it perfectly on the right side, and obviously I'm going to change this text to copy this and also bring it back, paste it here and match our style. Make sure everything is aligned on the right side. That is really important for this one. Let's reduce the font size to 64. You know what, we can go down to 56, but I feel like 64 is a good stopping point now, because if we don't stop now, there will be no stopping. Let's bring this right here, and we're going to get rid of the button because obviously we have a bunch of description to make. Copy and paste this once again, and now we're going to change the font back to outfit, just so we can see what the description looks like. Change it to medium, make this obviously much smaller, 20, and get this text box sorted as well. So we're going to get all of this text. If you want to, you can either get a random text generator or type it out by pausing the video at this point or typing out your own text. Right click, paste and match style, and just make sure the font size is a little bit smaller. It is set to regular in terms of font thickness, and just things look good together. So these are just the 3 things I want you to look out for. Let's make sure all of these are perfectly spaced apart, not too spaced apart, just enough to keep us interested. Now you guys, now we're going to design our next section. Alright, quick challenge to everyone watching. I feel like we've been boring for a really long amount of time. I apologize. I am heavily sleep deprived, too much information. We are now going to talk about what the clients are saying. So as a challenge to you, everyone watching, type out a weird feedback, something weird, make it weird, please make it weird for God, and just type it out in the comments really quickly, and we'll just add it right here along with your name, by the way. So just really quickly, if you guys could type out your weird feedbacks to any random product, it doesn't even matter, it could be this live stream, any weird product. I want to see funny stuff, because if I don't, there is a really high chance I might fall asleep during this live stream. I am so sleep deprived right now, I can't think straight. Wow, now we're building out the testimonial section, and obviously I've said this a bunch of times before in the older live streams that we were doing. Sometimes when things get boring, you're going to make things interesting again by changing the background color of the sections that you're building. So we were doing a dark background, then we did a lighter background, and now we're doing a lighter background once again. The way we're going to implement this, you guys, is we're going to make sure this background color changes back to this. Because we're building out the testimonial section, type out your weird reviews to this project, any project. We'll feature your name in here and also your weird review. Like, Come on, you guys, let's do this as a community. Type out your weird feedbacks for this website while I'm designing the rest of the UI. Come on. We're going to create this really, really long frame to accommodate our next section. Obviously, we're going to go to the top. You know what? I forgot about changing this from logo design to illustration. I feel like this is a good point to do that. Let's type out. You know what? Let's just leave it as it is, and we can just get back to it really, really quickly. Now we're going to go ahead to the top of the frame, obviously, MacBook Air 1, and increase the size in here. Figma works really, really slowly after you're done developing things beyond a certain size, which is such a hassle, honestly. But it also could be my PCU. That's something worth looking into. My CPU. That's something worth looking into. We're just going to change this to the darker shade of black that we were using, just because we're trying to keep things fun and interesting and fresh for the entirety of this UI. Let's get what our clients are saying about us. Let's just type this out. What our clients are saying about us. And one thing that we can be sure of is I am a really committed person to this today. I'm not going to type out random testimonials. I am going to get weird UIs, even if the ones in the comment aren't funny enough. Let's just change this to a larger font size at first, and then I'm going to make specific Google searches based on weird client testimonials. I feel like that is long overdue with the level of UI design smart people talk that we're doing. Let's just select this right here, make it obviously smaller, align things perfectly in the center, and now, ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your hats. We're going to go ahead and rebel out of our nature of being plain UI designers. We're going to search for weird testimonials from clients. I don't even know what I'm getting myself into here, but I am quite committed. Weird client testimonials for a product. I don't know what this will lead to. This is the first time I'm making this Google search, but real review. I feel like I want to keep things fun and keep things weird and interesting. I am very, very committed. You know what? Let's just get this AI assistant to get it done. These are just random ass articles. I don't want that. I want something really, really specific. I'm going to get ChatGPT, the biggest friend of all friends, and I'm going to search for give me 3 weird client testimonials for a storytelling app, and let's see what it gives us. This is going to be weird, really, really weird. A time traveler's dream. I only use this app to create a story about a cat who could travel through time and space. Not only did I write the most epic adventure, but the app also somehow became a cat. Now every time I open it, the app asks if I fed my time traveling cat. I'm a little concerned, but it's also kind of cute. 10 out of 10, recommended for cat lovers. You know what? This is wacky, weird, aligned with my personal brand of weird sense of humor. I am going with it. And before I start adding random anecdotes about time traveling cats, we need to design our very, very first testimonial section. Let's go to the frame. If you guys have any funny testimonials for me to type out here, leave them in the chat, you guys, and we'll talk about any weird comment ideas that you might have. Let's add a fill. Obviously everyone needs a fill, and now we're going to make sure this shade in the background is the one that we're using for each individual UI. You can change it to be a little bit more bluer, but at the core I feel like that's just what we're working with in here. So we're going to get this shade and obviously make it a little bit more blue just so it stands out. Make sure everything is perfectly aligned, circular, and pretty looking. And also we're going to get these quotation marks which are available as icons in Iconify. Control Alt P runs the last plugin which you've been running in Figma. We're going to search for quotation marks. Quote, what is going on? Why can't I type quotation? Oh my god. How do you spell quotation? I feel like I'm messing stuff up so much. How do you search for, is it quotes? I feel like it should be quotes. This is quotes. Yes, let's just get these quote marks in here. You can use this or this. I feel like in the demo we use this, so we have to stay committed to that. But hey, if you want, you can go ahead with the opposite quotes as well. Doesn't really matter at this point. These are purely aesthetic. And now we're going to get our really weird testimonial with us. Change this to say outfit, because that is the font that we were using in here. And also we're going to make sure that font thickness is set to a regular. Font size has to be obviously much smaller. I'm changing it down to 32 because that's just the bare minimum in terms of sizing. But also I am making this sort of fit into this one really thin frame. Let's just go right here and make everything fit into this really thin frame. Where did my frame go? Let's just bring this out here once again. And where did my Figma go? I'll just change this color to say white. Zoom in. Obviously we seem to have misaligned everything. Let's just flip it horizontally. And now we have this really simple weird looking review. Let's just bring this right here. If you are new here, make sure to subscribe. You know what, let me just get rid of a little bit of the extra text. I feel like it's just getting to a point where it's too much. Let's reduce the font size back again to 24, just because it might look a little bit nicer. This looks great. We're going to place this right here in the center. Nope, not in the center of the frame, just in the center of this specific card. Figma red lines are going to help you with that. Robert Fox, owner, Beards of Brothers. We're going to get this image, or you could just get a user avatar, anything at all. Let's get an ellipse. And before we do that, let's take a short break. I will be right back. Back we are. Now we're building out our next section, which is the name of the actual user. We're going to make this a smaller circle. 62. For the next testimonials, if I receive an interesting comment, I'll use that as our next testimonial and your name can be over here. So just win that chance. If you're watching live, leave an interesting comment in terms for our testimonial. Let's go. We're going to change this image. One of my favorite places in the world for getting stock images is Lumi right now. Available as a Figma plugin. We're going to load up Lumi. Let's get one of these images. We're going to search for a person and get one of these people in there. Sometimes Lumi takes a little bit of time to load, but I feel like it's really an interesting platform in terms of stock images. Just an interesting platform overall. It takes a little bit of time, but what can you do? The next thing we're building out is the name of the user. Let's do Robert Fox because that was what was present previously. And we're going to make this thicker as well. Let's select this, make it thicker. bring this right here, and now we have this really nice looking testimonial. You can reduce the font size. I feel like we've just gone really big with 24. That was quite a statement, but in the real world way of things, we need to change the line height to auto and also font size to 18. Looks good. Let's place it right here in the center. Why is this not aligning in the center? Let's align this perfectly in the center, you guys. And now we're going to type out the position of Robert Fox. I feel like Flumi failed us in terms of delivering the image, so I'm just going to have to get a new image now. Let's bring this right here. Change Robert Fox to owner of Beards. Wow, where did my UI go? Let's go down to the bottom. Select owner of Beards. Paste it here, and now we're going to reduce the size to be much smaller. I feel like we're going to go down to 14. Huge size gap. Make sure the image and the text is aligned close enough for it to be at least believable at the bare minimum. And now we're going to change this to regular as the font width. If you don't yet have a really nice image, you can either get one from Pixabay or Pexels or Unsplash. Let's do Pixabay. It is also a really nice stock image platform. Let's get the image of a person, and these images are completely royalty free, available to use personally and professionally. Awesome stuff. Again, you can download the full resolution image, but since we only need a small avatar, I'm just going to get a simple image. Let's just copy this, and we're going to go over here and we're going to paste this as the user avatar. This is now our image, and now we have this really simple plain looking description. Let's increase the font size to 20, and I feel like this is the perfect stopping point in terms of the UI. So this is now our very first testimonial. The way we're building out this grid is one testimonial here, and then one wide one to cover it. It's sort of inspired from the bento grid pattern, but at the same time it's a text-based variation of that. So I'm pretty proud of the way we've executed this myself. We're going to, I feel like we just missed out on this. So this text seems to be out of our frame. Let's get it inside of our frame, and let's see what we've missed. So this is our frame now. We're going to copy and paste this, and this is actually now usable as a component as well, so you could export it as an asset, and this would now become a reusable component too. Let's get the both of these, group them together for equal spacing, and you can add an auto layout if you want things to be perfectly aligned, if alignment seems to be an issue. Let's reduce this size in here. Make sure everything is perfectly aligned in the center. Bring this right here, and now we're going to change this text once again. Let's get these text boxes all sorted out. So I have a couple of fun descriptions here. If you read them out, they will be funny, I promise. Let's just copy this text out, and we're going to change the text, swap it out. Very simple stuff. Just go right here, right click, and now we're going to replace our text. We're going to paste it here and match styles. My camera is a little bit twisted, sorry for that, you guys, but I can't really change it midstream, so you're going to have to bear with me for a second. Now we're going to change these names, which you can do, by the way. Let's get this other image here as well. I'm just using a simple hack, screenshotting things from Firefox and changing out these images. Let's go right here, change out this image once again. I feel like this is a much more convincing Robert Fox, by the way. This should be Rita Fox. This can't possibly be Robert Fox. This is much more Robert Fox, but what can you do? Let's get a little bit of the description in here, copy it, and we're going to paste it here and match styles. I feel like you could just stop at some point, because at some point it becomes too long, or you could sort of use ellipses to say that there is more, and that now the user can click to view whatever the extra text is. And now that we're done with this, we're going to create one final variation of this, bring it down. Oops, I feel like we're going to get it out of our auto layout. Just bring it right here outside. Why is it not working? I feel like we've overused auto layouts more than we should have. Let's just get rid of this one. Let's select one of these frames internally, copy and paste them once again, bring them down right here, make it a little bit longer, and now we're going to type out this new description. So this is just really simple alignment stuff. Make it wider, obviously, align it perfectly in the center, and obviously we're going to select the user's description and shift it above. We're going to select our main frame, make it a little bit more smaller, select this, bring it down, and we're going to change this as well. So we're going to get our new description, copy it and bring it back, change this text out. So we're just justifying all of these now, changing things out. Done with that. Check it out, you guys. Let me just get rid of these extra quotations. Check it out. We have now successfully created the second or third last section. We now only have to create 2 more sections, which are the reach out section and also the footer. So with that, we've just gone so far ahead in our journey, literally learned so much. Let's also create these next sections. So before I start my next section, I want to point out this section, if you flip it as a mirror image, looks freakishly similar. And I'm saying freakishly just because consistency and freakishly are 2 very similar words in terms of UI design, are just flip images of each other. This section and this section are just flip images of each other. A simpler time-saving hack that you can use here is just get one of these, flip them on the other side, and now you can change the content as well. So the way we're going to do this is, hold on, give me a moment, I'm just doing something. The way we're doing this is, we are going to go back to the top. Obviously, we're going to select our first frame, copy it, bring it down, and we're going to paste it here again. So let's just paste it as an SVG. Oops, I feel like we just copied something else, which is a bad idea, honestly. Let's select this, make it obviously a little bit smaller. And now we're going to get our last section also done. Let's just go back to the top. I feel like we just shifted things for some reason, some weird reason. Let's just bring this down here again. Let's go back to the top, select this section, copy it, bring it down, go ahead, click on our MacBook Air 1, increase the size of the frame, paste it back here again. And now I feel like we just have to flip things over. Let's just bring the side here, get rid of the navigation bar, delete it. Just select the navigation bar, delete it. I'm going to select this frame as a whole, get this on one side, and you're going to get your text on the other side. So let's just get these things on the other side as well. And now we're going to sort of work with the text to flip things around. The first thing we need to add is obviously reach out today. Let's discuss your project. So we're going to select this text without changing anything in terms of styling whatsoever. Let's copy this right here, change the text back again, paste it here and match our styles. let's just bring it up to the top. Change this to say, let's discuss your project. Copy text. Change it back, match our styles. Bring it right here. And I feel like since we're designing a form now, nothing about the button needs to be changed whatsoever. I feel like we just have to change the button to say submit, even though the demo says read my article for some weird reason. We're going to change this to say submit. And now we obviously need to create the links for sort of these forms to work. And lastly, we need to flip our colors as well. So we copied off a section that was primarily light in terms of the background, but I feel like we should do a darker version for this. So we're just going to create these, and then we're going to flip our colors over as well. The way we're going to create these is I'm going to create a simple text box, create this wider text box, and then sort of duplicate them using reusable components. So the way we're going to do this is go ahead, select a text box, type out your name, and now we're going to make the font outfit back again. Make sure the font size is set to regular, and we're going to make this a little bit smaller as well. So this is going to be 16. Let's get to the comments because I completely forgot about the comment for some reason. Gulab Jamun OP asks, do you remember me? I don't actually. I've just been doing a lot of really cool things on the internet recently. Could you please introduce yourself? If you've been on the streams in the past, if you're a recent subscriber, thank you so much for joining us. Mix of Designs says, hey Veera, your projects are really attractive. Do you use mood boards in your design process? If so, how do you use them to gather inspiration and decide on a project's visual direction? Also, how do you pick colors while considering cultural and geographical differences? All right. Interesting questions. I am super duper happy to answer these now. Hold on. Yep, so let's just get back to the questions. My projects sometimes use mood boards, sometimes they don't. Sometimes you're winging things and mood boards aren't really required, but for the majority of the parts, yes, I do use mood boards. And I feel like when you mentally know the words that you're working with, I feel like I'll make a complete mood boards video at some point. But as far as mood boards are concerned, if you know the visual direction of where you're going, so for example, for this specific UI, I wanted to do a storytelling sort of format. Now I'm searching for all of the different images that I can use related to the storytelling format, and I'm sort of getting the best of the best images I can, because mood boards at their very core are very visual things that have something to do with images. So when I know the topic that I'm working with, I'll usually search for the images that are available to me, whether it's on the free image libraries or getting my own using an AI generated image, which doesn't happen very much right now, but you can if you want to. Like Lumi is a good platform, Leonardo AI is a good platform. You can get any images that you want. And now that I have a couple of images that I'm sure I'm going to incorporate, I feel like the colors and the themes can just easily be adjusted from our images. So when I'm starting with the mood board first, I'll usually take a look at what images I have available and sort of get the common points there and get them to be a constant factor throughout the design. I hope that answers your question. Also, I feel like colors regarding cultural and geographical differences, this is a really interesting question as well. I might make a complete video on this as well at some point. Colors according to country do change, preferences do change, but here's something that doesn't change. Black and white, one simple primary color along with your basic colors, black and white, or just colors that are opposite to each other on the color wheel. You know what, I'll talk about this in a little bit of detail, because I got another question about this from Shailendra as well, and I didn't answer it previously, which was just me working on the design at that point. I'm searching for the color wheels. So color differences according to cultural patterns is actually an interesting question. Thing here is, hold on, let this load up. I personally rely on the color wheel, which is the most basic tool in UI design ever. The thing with the color wheel is, when you're working with a color wheel that looks sort of like this, you're working with very, very set patterns. So when you're working with these color schemes, you're working with a very, very set patterns. For example, when you're using colors that are opposite to each other in very high contrast, they are going to work well as a color scheme together, no matter what geography you come from. The colors black and white are going to work together no matter what geography you come from. The colors that are sort of forming a tetradic pattern, pinks, yellows, and blue violets put together, are going to work well together no matter where they come from. These colors which are opposite to each other are going to work well together no matter where they come from. Primary color palette, secondary color palette, which is like red, blue, yellow, and green, orange, purple, are just forms of colors, hues that will work together no matter where you come from. Cultural and geographical differences do exist, and sometimes when I'm designing something that's very, very specific, for example, one of my very first projects was Japanese in terms of the place where it was placed, so it was a Japanese only site, and I feel like when you're going ahead and working on a project that is very, very specific to this one country. I also worked on a Brazil carnival theme related UI once, really long time ago. Only in those instances do you have to worry about what this country is like, what the average UI design is like, what are the colors that people are very familiar with in this respect, and that's the only place where you're wanting to worry about cultural and geographical differences. Other than that, color wheel in itself is a very, very universal thing, and color concepts, and I feel like I'll make a video on this at some point very, very soon. Color concepts and colors, just if you're using the right patterns that are available across the globe, I don't think you can really go wrong with colors. So you can put your mind at rest, unless you're asked only to design a site that will work in the Japanese audiences only or the Brazil audiences only. You don't usually have to worry about, will this country like my UI design? And that's coming from someone who's designed websites that are only operating in other countries, operating in this countries and other countries, only in this country, and that's just very, very universal as a UI UX designer. I hope that answers your question. I'll try to go into a little bit more detail in upcoming days. I really hope that answered your question, you guys. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe. Let's reach 700 before the end of this month. Just a really, really generous goal here. Let's get back to the UI design that we were building. Your name is the very first sort of title that we're working with. The thing that we're building out here is this box now. So this is again the same exact font size. Don't worry if the colors aren't in your favor right now. And now we're going to select a completely different rectangle. So let's just create a new entire rectangle right here. Add a stroke, get rid of the fill, make this text perfectly aligned in the center, bring this down, make this rectangle without any fill color, round off the edges if you need to, and now you have this really, really good form component. So you're going to group them together and create a new reusable component out of them. And now your name, your email, and your message are going to be the three versions. So we're going to change this text first of all to enter your name, and we're going to get the reusable contents from assets. So group 4 is the reusable content that we're using. What in the world did we just do? In fact, we just got our asset. So you're just going to go right here on the assets tab, get a reusable component, and you're going to insert an instance. With that, you have this new instance of this guy. I feel like we need to fix up the camera, but I just don't want to mess it up a little too much for the process of this stream, you guys. I apologize if the camera is a little bit tilted to the side. I'll have it fixed in the upcoming streams. Your email, your message are the other two sections. So you can change minor elements in reusable components very, very easily. Let's change this to say enter your email and enter your message. Don't worry about capitalization. We'll take a look into it really, really soon. So if your elements aren't really capitalized, just you can do that automatically in Figma, and I'll get into that in just a moment. Select one of these, go right here, make this title case now. So you're just going to go right here, go to this adjustment section, and you're going to change this to title case. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, because we changed the master copy, now all of these are set to title case. And now we're going to select all of these, make sure spacing is equal in here. You can work with it a little bit. With that, check it out. This is actually a pretty decent looking form. This image does need to be changed, and the image was present in our Discord group. If you haven't joined the Discord group yet, what in the world are you doing? Join. All of the assets used here completely for free. They're available for personal and commercial use. And now we're going to get the image that we were just working with, sa.png, download it up, go right here, back in Figma, select this image, change this image again, upload from your computer, you guys. Get the image that we just now downloaded. We're going to open it up. I feel like a teacher in playgroup, nursery, kindergarten now, just on account of the weird childlike voice I'm talking in. But quirks aside, let's change the color palette back to the dark mode theme that we were working with. So obviously the first thing that we need to make sure is we're going to open up our layers, go ahead to the frame where all of this is being held. I feel like we just are using an open frame for now. We're going to select all of these, create a group in itself, and then we're going to create a frame that's going to hold all of these at once, just so we have an easy point of access. Color for the background is going to be the lighter shade that we were using. We're going to select this fill, lighter shade of black that we were using. We're going to select this fill, select this gray, get it as a shade from the eyedropper tool from the top. We're going to select this color, and now we're going to change these colors back to white for the text. So we're going to go ahead, change the text colors to white. This is just very, very simple stuff. Mix of Designs says, thanks for your answer. How do you research where to place frames and CTAs for best user engagement? I feel like CTAs, call to actions, are wherever. Hold on. This is a fun question. Call to actions, I'm going to break this down into a couple of different parts. Call to action buttons are universally, first of all, layouts are, a couple of layout patterns are very, very established through years and years of research and all of these designers using them. So there are a couple of common UI design patterns that you'll see. For example, center aligned text and button at the bottom, left aligned stuff and button at the bottom, or you can go on the right side as well. Sometimes these are more abstract in terms of a call to action being on this corner. Wherever your call to action button is, it needs to be visually different, visually attractive, visually better looking than everything else, and that's just going to get your user to click on the button. So in my head, rather than working on hours and hours of user research, I'm usually thinking about, very, very transparently, I'm thinking about how do I make this button be in a position where it stands out more than anything else. And I feel like that's just the better way to approach things. Even as a user, even as a point of view of a user, you need to focus more on how pretty and how attractive your button is, as opposed to where it needs to be in a just to be in the perfect placement. Because you can place things perfectly, back it up with years and years of data and research, but if it doesn't look attractive enough, if it doesn't strike out the way it needs to, everything else can go to shit. And if you have the worst button placement of all, and yet it's still even in a corner of a page somewhere, the button is very, very visual and very, very actively visible, stands out of everything else, you're going to be fine. So I feel like more placement and user research is always important, but more importantly, if your button is actually standing out, that's going to give you a better chance of user engagement than any other master placement technique. And I feel like this is frames are just containers that are holding other data inside of Figma. Maybe if you're talking about different frames of elements, groups of elements, I style them according to where things need to be. So obviously I'll have the about section before the pricing section. So I feel like frames, it's more of a logical thing, and call to action is more of a visual thing. So both of these have their respective use cases, and they are more important than the exact placement. So I feel like more than the exact placement, because we're not working with, for these smaller UIs, we're not working with 1,000 people. This is not always the case. I feel like visual UI is more important than years and years of research, especially because that is what you're working on right now. That is a very actionable step, and it just has drastic impact. So I would recommend definitely focusing on the way things look, and sticking to the basics in the beginning, and that's really a good place to start, especially as a beginner. I could go ahead and talk about 1,000 other resources here, but I feel like that's just going to distract and confuse beginners in the beginning. So I want you to focus on the way things look first, and then we'll go into a lot of detail on this channel in the future very, very soon. So I do have a lot of answers for this, but I don't want to sort of overwhelm everyone, which is why I'm going to say focus on the way things look first, and research can come later. I hope that answers your question. All right, the next thing that we're building out is our footer. Let's go ahead at the bottom. We're going to just scroll ahead, and I feel like we're so close to getting things done. This is the last footer that we're building out. It is a complete, very, very modern 2025 sort of footer, which is holding all of these different links, newsletter, privacy policy, and links, and also social media. Like, this is the quintessential modern footer of the world. And like, this is every brand's dream footer, so we're sort of building that out as well. And this is going to be the best completer to our landing page for SaaS UI designs. Let's just get this camera thing adjusted. I apologize for the way this is just twisting in your face. We'll get this fixed really, really soon. We're going to go right here to the bottom, select our frame, main frame. I feel like this frame is outside of our MacBook Pro for some reason, which is horrible news. We're going to get this back inside, and then we're going to create our final footer frame. So we're going to go ahead to MacBook Air, create our last footer frame, bring this right here, place it completely in the center, and this is going to be the last thing we need. Add a black footer, pure black, because you need to draw attention to the important links here. This is a very, very strategic pure black, even though I recommend against it when you have a very subtle color scheme overall. We're building out the footer now. The thing with the footer is we're going to obviously get started with the logo. So we're going to go to the top. Even if you don't have the image logo with yourself, you're going to go to the top, scroll up firstly, select your name of the brand and also your logo. You're going to scroll to the top, obviously, select your logo, copy it, bring it down. Make sure to subscribe if you're new here and like this video. Paste it right here, bring it up. Don't worry if things don't look perfect right now. They will definitely get more regular and get more perfect as we start working. Now we have our logo with us. We're going to zoom in. We're going to select this right here, bring it up here, and now we're going to get quick links. So this is a very, very simple thing to build out. You're going to go right here, type out quick links, and then it becomes a reusable component as well. Links. And now we're going to reduce the font size just slightly, because even as a matter of text hierarchy, this needs to be a little bit smaller than the name of the brand itself. We're going to bring this right here, and obviously we're going to get for ourselves a bunch of these links. So this is going to be portfolio services blog testimonials. Let's do portfolio, and I'm going to create a font style after this. So we're going to bring this down to regular, change this to 16, bring this guy right here, create a new text style. Reason being, we're going to be creating 16 different versions, and we don't want every single version to be a little bit different from each other. We don't want to be changing 16 different small little text boxes individually. So font styles are just a really, really simple way of doing that. We're going to copy and paste this a bunch of times. So we're going to select both of these, copy and paste them back again. Let's change this to say portfolio. Change one of these to say services. Blog and testimonials. Again, we want to make sure everything is perfectly. Oops. I feel like this just went out of frame for some reason. Hold on. Make sure everything is perfectly spaced right here. We're going to change this to say about, and blog, we're going to change this to say about. Again, I was talking about how all of this is just right aligned, which is horrible. We need to make sure it is left aligned. Change this to blog. Select all of these at once, and now we're going to create an auto layout where everything is perfectly aligned towards the left. Spacing needs to be adjusted as well. This looks good. We're going to copy and paste this twice again. Let's get this right here, copy and paste it once again. And we're going to do one last version. And with that, we're going to do our last section of all. So I feel like we just need to get this to go to a different line. And once that happens, we'll be really, really ready to accommodate everything at once. We're going to change the width to hug contents. Select this to be a little bit bigger. Select all of these quick link groups. Send this right here. And now we're going to create our newsletter. So we're going to type out subscribe, join my newsletter. We're going to put this right here, have it say subscribe. These are just going to be really, really similar font sizes, just because we want there to be a lot of consistency in the UI that we're building out. We're going to select this back here and copy out and paste both of these texts. Let's just get the both of these ready and right here. Hold on. We're going to go back and now select this text. Why is Figma so slow? You know what? Let me just close and reopen it. Sometimes streaming for long can do this. I'm going to open up Figma once again. Very, very simple stuff. And now we're going to change our links for our subscribe to newsletter section. And that's just going to be the final of the final things that we're doing for this UI. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe, you guys. Let's get a lot of subscribers in this design community. It's so awesome. Let's select join my newsletter. We're going to copy this text, bring it back. Font size is obviously 14 pixels because this is a little bit smaller. Font family is outfit. Font weight is regular. Let's just let this load up completely. Let's change this back up here again. We're going to paste our text. Font weight regular, font size 14, family outfit. Make sure everything is perfectly aligned towards the left. And we're going to get the second one here as well. By subscribing something, disclaimer. We're going to get this right here as well. We're going to bring this down here. And I feel like these just need to be aligned perfectly with each other. Done. And now I'm just going to leave a little bit of space. Make sure everything is perfectly aligned. We're going to place this right here. And for the final subscription button, I'm just going to get this last sort of thing. Just because we're working with a very, very similar... Oops, I feel like I messed up. I'm just going to get this as well. So I'm just going to go over here to the assets, and we're going to go to our reusable assets, get group 4, insert an instance, get rid of your name because why not, bring this down here, change this to say enter your email. If it doesn't look good right now, just select the text box, and you can always detach this as an instance. So we're going to go right here, place this as a detached instance. We're going to select this text box, place this right here, and now we're going to change this to say enter your email and get a button for ourselves as well. So the button is coming from the top, obviously. Let's get a button for ourselves. So we're going to go over here, select this button, copy and paste it once again, bring it down here, make sure size is equal, everything is perfectly aligned, font size we'll work on, nothing to worry about at all. Let's change this to say 16. The border radiuses have to almost always be equal. The one in here is on 9 and this one is also on 9. I feel like the reason it's just seemingly out of balance is because the border for this one is a little bit on the outside. So let's just make this a little bit smaller, and with that, check it out, ladies and gentlemen, this is coming up so beautifully. We're going to create a new horizontal line, and then we're going to add all of our links, and we're going to be almost done. Like literally I can physically smell it, how close we are to completion. It's so awesome. Let's get this vector, change the color in here to white just because we want things to be nice and visible. Bring this back up in here, and we're going to change this text to have basically hold a bunch of links. We're going to select one of these, and then we're going to really quickly type out the copy. I know this is taking a lot of time to load. The WebGL plugin in Figma is horrible. The way the WebGL system works takes so much time, literally the most annoying thing ever. Very inconvenient. Let's now get this, copy and paste it in here also. And now we're going to select this back up again. So we're going to type out our copyright notice, zoom in, press Windows dot, get the copyright notice in here, and we're going to type out creative copyright 2025 creative, and we're going to make this bolder later on, don't worry. Creative designs, all rights reserved. Done. We're going to make this bold, and with that we are almost done. We're going to select this. Mix of Designs says, I've heard in your videos that you're also a developer. Did you ever work on a complete website project that you could show us? Oh my god, I am so glad you asked this. Now I'm going to nerd out for a whole lot. Like I have worked on not just one, a whole bunch of web projects all over the internet. Could you show us? I'm curious about the web development process after the design phase. If I started, I feel like it's just going to derail us right now, and it's going to take a really long amount of time. So not in this live stream, but interestingly, I have so many things that I want to show you. Hopefully I'll get the chance to start a development channel also on YouTube at some point, or just diversify what we're doing here also to development. And I feel like I want to introduce the whole development aspect of what comes after UI design once we're done with UI design. Let's just get this sorted first, because I have so much to say on web development and the way you build websites, how I've built websites, how other people do it, and all of the different technologies. But I feel like once you start going into the whole front end, back end, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and also React, Next.js, Django, Python, Flask side of things, it's just going to really get out of control, and it's just going to be definition after the other with no understanding whatsoever of what's going on. So I want to pause right now a little bit on the development front, because I have so much to say, and it's literally going to take a whole other hour to even get through the intro without confusing a lot of the viewers. So I do want to hold off on that for a little while. But thank you so much for asking that. I wanted to talk about it on a public forum for so long, and I hopefully will very, very soon. We're going to type out privacy policy, terms of service, and cookie settings. Let's just go. We're going to select this, make sure everything is aligned in one line, select it back here again, have it say privacy policy. I had a classmate back in school who used to type out privacy police. Honesty is the best police instead of policy. It's such an old story, and it still makes me laugh. Really, really weird. Terms, and I'm also going to type out cookies. Just terms of service and cookies, or you can type out terms and cookies. And when you're doing terms and cookies, you can also do privacy if you want to. I feel like Figma has just introduced a new change where instead of going terms, instead of just typing out terms over here, they're just doing text, which is a fun change. Not sure if it's in the positive or negative direction, but it is a fun change, definitely. These are the bunch of social media links that we're using. Let's go to Iconify and get ourselves some nice social media links. Iconify, Instagram. By the way, if you haven't yet followed me on Instagram, that's where all the cool stories are. Go join me there now. Links in the description. Twitter. Let's get X. Let's also get YouTube. Let us also get LinkedIn. And finally, Facebook. And with that, we have ourselves all of these icons ready to go. We're going to reduce the font size, obviously, make it smaller, add an auto layout just so everything is perfectly aligned. We're going to get all of these. Oops, I feel like before the auto layout, we should have gotten them in the same exact frame. So we're going to get them inside of our frame right here. You know what? Let me just get all of these out first. Let's zoom in, get the bunch of these out, make them a little bit bigger, add an auto layout. Just make sure everything is perfectly aligned in one single row. Reduce the spacing between each of these. Reduce the spacing between each of these. Make sure to increase the size just so everything can be accommodated. Select your frame, bring it right here, and you're going to increase the size as well. If icons in particular look janky, you can always go back and fix them. Select all of these, make them a little bit bigger. We're going to select each of these individual icons and make sure their width and height is fixed up. Like, just make sure 24 is 24. I feel like we should have locked the width and height first, but even if we haven't, we can physically make sure they're equal in terms of their sizing. So we're just going to change this to 24. Make sure you don't have the vector view where everything is in points like these, and that's just going to make sure everything is very well aligned. Let's change the height to 24, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, we have finally completed our completely awesome SaaS landing page UI design. This has been one of the most long, crazy, challenging UIs ever, and we have physically learned so much. I'm going to close out the other UI because we don't need it anymore. We're going to go back and we're going to go ahead and prototype this finally. And let's just get rid of all of the extra images. And now we're going to start prototyping this, which is completely awesome. Just zoom in, go to the prototype section, show prototype settings, and now we can choose which model we use for our final presentation. I'm choosing Midnights, and also making sure you can use MacBook Air, or and making sure we have an onion skin in the first place. You can either use MacBook Air with 1280 pixels of width, or you can also use the Android expanded tablet. Both are fine options, but I feel like I'm just going to stick with the MacBook Air laptop for this one. Check it out, you guys. This genuinely looks incredible. Crafting visual stories by Creative Designs. I just feel like this is a really, really stunning example of my whole life's work in one single image. We have learned so many cool techniques, awesome navigation bars, unbelievably awesome cards, getting and creating all of these images, curating them together, really, really interesting landing pages, fonts that work well together, bento grid testimonial formats. Need I go on? Dividing a page into two sections and executing them to perfection, reusing Figma components, and obviously newsletter and all of these incredible things. This is the modern footer for 2025. By the way, we need to make sure the newsletter group says where it is, where it says it is. So we obviously have to bring this group back in here again. And now we have the model footer for 2025. I feel like this has been the most informative, the most valued educational UI we've done in such a long time. I'm going to share what I'm doing here back to the live chat of this video. And so if you open up the live chat after we're done streaming, you can still find this link where you can just go ahead, open this UI up, and sort of explore the way things are going. If you have watched until the very end, thank you so much for watching. I thank you deeply from the bottom of my heart. This has been an amazing live stream. If you liked what we're doing here, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and come back tomorrow 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time or 2:30 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time for another awesome UI design stream. Until then, I will see you.